Salam everyone. Welcome to day 5 of the book The Absolute Law of Karma, written by Param Pujya Gurudev Pandit Shri Ram Sharma Acharya. We were reading the second chapter called How Does Chitragupta Maintains the Records, or how does this mechanism of maintaining records of every single external activity in our lives is maintained in the form of karma rekha or the sanskaras. Moving on. In human society, there are two departments for punishing the violators of law, namely the police and the court of justice. The police arrests the accused, collects the evidence, and presents these in the court of law. Thereafter, the process of justice takes over. The judge delivers the judgment after considering all aspects of the offense and related circumstances. Depending on the circumstantial evidence, individuals are handed down various sentences for the same type of offense. Let us consider an example. 3 persons are accused of killing a person. Because of different circumstances associated with the crime, one is set free, the second person is sentenced to 5 years of imprisonment, and the third is sent to the electric chair. The person who was released was a mason. While working at an elevated label, he had accidentally dropped a brick which killed a passerby. Now here Gurudev is trying to give us an example of what actually happens in our inner mind and with the divine judge after we die, and how are we judged, which is actually very similar to what happens in our external physical world these days. We have 2 sorts of departments to maintain law and order, which is the police and the court of justice. So when police catches a criminal, they are brought to the court of justice with a few set of evidences, and then the judge delivers the judgment based on those evidences and the circumstantial surroundings around that when that crime was done. So in this example, there are 3 people who are accused of killing a person, but because of the circumstances, they are sentenced to 3 different types of judgments. Now the first person out of these is released. He was a mason. He was actually at his job, and he accidentally dropped a brick which killed a passerby. The presiding judge found that the brick was dropped accidentally and unintentionally, without an ulterior motive. Hence, the accused was released without punishment. So notice the words accidentally, unintentionally, and without an ulterior motive plays a key role in defining the circumstances of this killing. The second accused was a farmer. Finding the thief stealing his crop, he had given him a fatal blow which killed the offender. Taking the circumstances which prompted the offense, the judge considered that though it was natural for the farmer to show his anger on finding someone stealing his property, nevertheless, since he had overreacted to a small offense, a sentence of 5 years imprisonment was given. Now the second person was a farmer. He found someone stealing food from his property or anything, and he in retaliation he killed the person by hitting him with a fatal blow, and he was sentenced to 5 years of imprisonment. So the judge said it as an overreaction, or the punishment was higher. The killing the person was a bit bigger than what value the farmer would have lost by that steal. The third person was a notorious robber who had robbed a rich man and intentionally killed him in the process. In this way, the worldly court of justice pronounces judgment after minutely examining all circumstantial evidence. So the electric chair was probably justified because this had an ulterior motive, it was intentional, and it was definitely not an accident. In the inner mind, the secret recordings of Chitragupta discharge the dual responsibility of the police and the court of justice. In the material world, if the prosecutor presents inadequate or false evidence, the judgment of the court is likely to be unfair. But in the inner occult world, there is absolutely no possibility of such miscarriage of justice. So here Gurudev is explaining that the inner mind or the subconscious mind has to execute both the duties of a police, which is to collect correct circumstantial evidence, and also of the judge, which is to deliver the most impartial and fair judgment, considering that absolute, truthful, circumstantial evidence. The innermost mind, being the direct and transparent witness to all physical as well as mental activities of a person, is holistically aware of the intentions, motives, and circumstances of each and every action. Being holistically informed, the secret mind does not require the testimony of the external mind to arrive at a conclusion. In divine justice, the gravity of a sin or a vice or the merit of a virtue is decided on the basis of the motive and degree of emotional involvement with the deed. Whereas in the material world, objects are measured materially on the basis of their mundane worth. This measure is irrelevant for dispensing divine justice. The material world may ignore a poor donor of 10 cents and admire a person donating $10,000. But in divine justice, the worth of such acts of altruism is not assessed on the gross physical basis. So as an example, there was news about a very, very old poor lady who gave donation for the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, just 100 rupees. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say just 100 rupees. She gave 100 rupees because probably she earned maybe not more than 200 rupees in a month. She was a very, very old farmer, and she gave that money. But someone who is earning much more, who already has the capacity to give more money and who can probably afford 50,000 rupees, might also just give 100 rupees. So we do not consider the absolute, we only consider the absolute truth in the physical world, but in the divine world, on the world of divine justice, it is always considered with what intention the work was done, what was the ulterior motive, and how much was the degree of emotional involvement with the deed. So someone might donate to charity only to show others that they have donated so much and they are so nice and so capable of doing that. But someone just donates and does not even tell their family. So it is the degree of emotional involvement with the deed and not the ulterior motive of showing off of that good deed. So that is the difference between the physical world and the divine justice. Because in the world of divine justice, it is our innermost mind or the Chitragupta which is holistically informed. We cannot lie to our inner self. That is why they say Chitragupta is holistically informed. Because no matter what our external mind says that, oh, that was the situation, oh, someone said that first, oh, someone did that first. But in our mind, we know that no matter what the others do or say, or no matter what the external situation is, it is us, inside us, that the solution lies. It is us that who have to change our reactions, and it is us who have to make sure we do not engage with the external world in a way so as to bring our own energies down or justify our own bad deeds. Let us take an example. In a remote, undeveloped tribal area, one may barter a kilogram of food grains for sugar, but in a developed country, one has to pay in hard currency. In the material world, people do earn fame and name by making large contributions to charity, helping in popular welfare activities, joining religious or charitable institutions, delivering or listening to sermons, and participating in pilgrimages. But the domain of Chitragupta does not accept this currency. Oh my God, I just said this example before. The leaders of this domain record only debits and credits of motives and emotional involvements in the performance of deeds and convert these into virtues and sins accordingly. So just what we discussed earlier, Gurudev is trying to give the same example. And that proves that it is Gurudev who is making us all read this book. That it is the motives behind our deeds behind our words, behind our actions. That is the intention with which we do those things and say those things and make others feel those things. The intention behind them is what matters. If we are in alignment with our inner self, then our intentions will always be pure. And that is the basis of evaluation in the astral world or in the divine world of Chitragupta. So thank you for listening in today.
हमारे YouTube चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और बेल आइकन पर क्लिक कीजिए ताकि आने वाली सभी वीडियो की नोटिफिकेशन आपको मिलती रहे। आप सभी को बहुत बहुत थैंक यू।